بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear sisters, my dear daughter, welcome back to a new episode of the Seerah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. Last time we spoke about the 7th year of the Hijrah and the events that happened and during this year, and from the most evident and eminent events at that time is conquest of Khaybar, or the opening of Khaybar, and the last residence for the Jews in Medina. And we mentioned that actually was a big and a marvelous victory for the Muslims, that they reached this stage after all the difficulty they passed through by the Jews and what their conspiracy all the time against the Muslims. And we mentioned that there were three main enemies for the Muslims since the Hijrah, or the migration of the Prophet ﷺ to Al-Madinah: the polytheists in Mecca and the Arab Bedouins together, then the Jews and the al-munafiqun, or the hypocrites inside the Medina. And getting rid of the Jews was the first enemy to be succeeded the Muslims to get rid of. Now still we have the neighboring Arab Bedouins, and that make from time to time attacks on trying to attack Al-Madinah, also Quraysh. So remember that we have now still we are in the Hudaybiyah Treaty, the treaty between the Muslims in Medina and Quraysh in Mecca, which we took. It happens in the 6th Hijrah year of Hijrah. So today, inshallah, we're going to have the beginning, or the Jumada al-Ula, in the early year of the 8th year after Hijrah, and before Fath Mecca, or before the conquest of Mecca, which happened in the same year, the 8th year after the Hijrah. Today, inshallah, we have lots of events. We'll try to make it concise as much as we can for the sake of the time. But actually, it's very important. It's very important to mention these details that I'm going to say, inshallah. The first is the Battle of Mu'tah. Battle of Mu'tah is a very important demarcation, and battle maybe we are not, most of us not aware of, or all of us, most of what we know is the Uhud and Badr and Al-Ahzab or Al-Khandaq. But actually Mu'tah is was a very enlightening point during the journey of the Prophet ﷺ and his companion in their fight with disbelievers. The Battle of Mu'tah happened in Jumada al-Ula in the 8th Hijri year, and Mu'tah actually is a village, lies on the borders of Syria. So now we are speaking about the borders. We are now leaving the Arab Peninsula towards the north to Syria. We mentioned before like a ghazwa, or a battle, happened in a place which was near to Syria. Also, we mentioned about it. I don't know if anyone remember, can send me on the chat from our sisters and our daughters. Remember, we mentioned previously a battle near the border of Syria also. It happened. You know the name? If you remember the name, you can chat me, or you can send on the chat group messages, I mean. The one who knows the name of the Ghazwa, the name of the battle, was also all around the borders of Syria. And the Prophet ﷺ was the leader of the Muslims at that time. And they didn't have any fight due to the escape of the disbelievers at that time. Who can tell me the name of this Ghazwa? It's not Tabuk, ya Bahija. It's not Tabuk. We're not yet. Actually, it's not Tabuk. We didn't mention Tabuk yet. It is Dawmat al-Jandal. It is Dawmat al-Jandal. If you remember, Dawmat al-Jandal was the same on the borders of Syria, and the Prophet ﷺ, you remember when he had news about those who are they are stealing the caravans that passing from Syria to Al-Madinah, and taking everything in the caravans from the goods and from even the women, and take them as captives. So he went with a group of Muslims in order to defend this border around the Arab Peninsula. So now this is the second time that the Muslim will go to the borders of Syria in Mu'ta, the Battle of Mu'ta. And actually, Battle of Mu'ta is called in Arabic Sariyah, Sariyat Mu'ta. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't attend. We mentioned before that the battle was not attended by the Prophet is called Sariyah. But the battle when attended by the Prophet, it's called Ghazwa. Ghazwa. So here the Prophet, what is that story? What is the story behind Mu'tah battle, or why the Muslims went for Mu'tah battle? The Prophet, peace be upon him, had sent Al-Harith ibn Umayr al-Asdi on an errand to carry a letter to the ruler of Busra. He sent one of his ambassador, the Prophet ﷺ, to the ruler of Busra. Busra, this is called Busra Sham, which is in Syria. It's present in Syria. And we mentioned before that time that the place of Sham, including Syria, Jordan, parts of Palestine and Lebanon, all that at that time called Sham, and was under the Byzantine Emperor. Byzantine Emperor was occupying these places, and they are putting a representative or an ally for them in every place in Sham. So the Prophet ﷺ sent his ambassador with a message to the ruler of the Busra, and on his way, this ambassador intercepted by a governor of a place called Al-Balqa during the way, and this governor of this place was a close ally to Caesar, the Byzantine emperor, and his name was Shurahbil ibn Amr al-Ghassani. Shurahbil ibn Amr al-Ghassani. And what happened that he took the message from Al-Harith and tied him and beheaded him. And killing envoys and messengers used to be regarded as the most awful crime and amounted to the degree of war declaration. And actually, this was what was happened. The Prophet was shocked on hearing the news and ordered that a large army of 3,000 men be mobilized and dispatched to the north to discipline the transgressors. The leaders of this army was Zayd ibn Haritha. Remember that Zayd ibn Haritha was used to be a slave for the Prophet ﷺ, but he freed him and adopted him as his son. And then after that, the ayat in Surah Al-Ahzab came to prohibit adoption in Islam by making the adopted son have the name of the adopting parent. So Zayd, his name mentioned in the Quran, and Allah actually honored him by mentioning his name in the Quran. Zayd ibn Haritha was appointed to lead the army, and also Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. Remember Ja'far? Remember we spoke about Ja'far? He was a speaker and representative of the Muslim group when they have their migration to Al-Habasha or Ethiopia, when Amr ibn al-As came, tried to take them back to Quraysh. And then we mentioned that he was there he was there actually in Al-Habasha till after Al-Hudaybiyah, and even after opening of Khaybar. Remember last lesson when we mentioned he returned back to Al-Madinah from Ethiopia or from Al-Habasha on the 7th Hijri year after opening Khaybar. So this was the first, for him, was the first battle to enter or to fight with the Muslim, Ja'far. Ja'far, he is the brother of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ. So we have Ja'far ibn Abi Talib replace him. This is according to the Prophet order that Zayd will take the banner, and if Zayd killed, Ja'far will take the banner after him, and if Ja'far killed, Abdullah ibn Rawaha would succeed Ja'far, and the banner was raised and handed over to Zayd. And before leaving, before the army leave Medina, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned to them the regulations for the Muslim army during battle, during war, how to behave. Listen, my daughters, and listen, my sisters, it's very important to know that more than 1400 years back, the Prophet ﷺ postulated the regulations of the fair war, and how the Muslim army are teaching other people how to fight, how to enter the battle, how to war your enemy, more than 1400 years back. What the Prophet is told the Muslims at that time, and actually is telling us now in 2021. Fight the disbelievers in the name of Allah. Neither breach a covenant or entertain treachery, and under no circumstances newborn, woman, aging man, hermit should be killed. Moreover, neither trees to be cut down, nor homes to be demolished. These are the regulations that the Muslim army should be strict, adhere to it. The Muslim army or the Muslim people in any place, any time that they are not fulfilling this criteria, so they are not belonging to the Muslim army or the true Muslims army that the Prophet ﷺ gave their orders. They are not obeying the Prophet. They are not the true Muslims. This what Prophet mentioned to us. For the Muslim army to fight, whatever his enemy, whoever his enemy is to have these regulations during the war, during the battle, to not breach covenants or have any type of betrayal or treachery, and under no circumstances to kill a newborn, to kill women, to kill aging man, or to kill someone who are worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or whatever his religion. He's just worshipping in his church or in his temple or whatever the place. He's not attacking you. Even if he's not Muslim, you are not permitted to kill him. And even the trees, you are not permitted to cut or burn the trees. The homes of the people, you are not permitted to demolish any home or to explode or just to send down your bomb and send down your rockets on the people, on the civilian people. These are the regulations for the Muslim army. Before the battle, actually, when the Muslim reached the Mu'tah village, there was surprise there. There was great surprise and a very critical condition. They faced by 200,000 of the disbeliever army which were a mix of the Byzantine Empire army and their ally from the Arabs, from the Sham. So both of them totally, they formed 200,000. 200,000. This is the number of the enemy army. The three leaders sat together. Zayd ibn Haritha, Ja'far, and Abdullah ibn Rawaha, and start to discuss this critical situation. They are, remember, they are 3,000. They are just, the Muslim army are 3,000. And now they are facing 200,000 of the disbelievers, fully armed, fully equipped, everything. So they started to think what to do. Shall they send back to the Prophet and tell him what's happening? And maybe they need reinforcement, they need help to come to increase the number of the Muslims army, or what they do. And they started to discuss the issue together. Then Abdullah ibn Rawaha radiallahu anhu, he mentioned to them a very impressive speech. He told them, by Allah, that this very object you hate, the thing that you hate, is the one you demand, the shahada, the martyrdom. The martyrdom that you hate to go to be killed. You are afraid to be killed because you are few in numbers. So this is what we actually demand. So the very object you hate is the one you demand. And then he mentioned, in our fight, we don't count on number of soldiers or equipment, but rather on the faith that Allah has honored us with. Dare to win one of the two, victory or martyrdom or shahada. In light of these words, they moved to engage with the enemy, and the battle lasted for 6 days. 6 days, you can imagine, 3,000 from the Muslim army are facing 200,000 of the disbelievers, starting the war and the battle from Fajr till Al-Maghrib, and then both armies take rest, and then next day start to have again fighting. What happened that Zayd ibn Haritha started to fight with matchless bravery until he fell down and killed. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib took the banner from Zayd and kept fighting, holding the banner with his right hand, which was cut off. Then he held it with his left hand, which being cut off too. Then he held the banner with his 2 arms until he killed, with 50 stabs in his body, all were from the front. See how much they were very keen for the Islam and the Muslim banner to be raised, and for the last second from their life, they want to fight as much as they can to have the shahada. Abdullah ibn Rawaha took the banner and fought bravery until also he was killed. Now, another critical problem. The 3 leaders being assigned by the Prophet ﷺ were killed, and we still during the battle. And the battle from the start is very critical. So at that time, the Muslim chose Khalid ibn al-Walid, a skilled brave fighter and outstanding strategist. Actually, Khalid ibn al-Walid was one of the most intelligent fighters, even when he was before entering Islam. And remember when we mentioned about Battle of Uhud, the one who came behind the Muslim army at that time, and he took the advantage of the archers that left their position and ran after the spoils. He was Khalid also. He was Khalid. Khalid, he was a genius in the military activities and the military plans, to the degree that in most of the Western military academies, they are teaching his plans and his ways of attacking until now. What happened? What was Khalid's plan in this critical position? Now, remember, we've been 6 days now fighting. The 3 leaders of the Muslim army were killed, and we still have a lot and a huge number of the enemy army still present. So Khalid reshuffled the right and left flanks of Muslim army. You know, the Muslim army, usually there are main 5 parts. Any army have main 5 parts: the right wing or flank, the left wing, and the front, and the behind, and the center. Usually the leader will be in the center, who is the one who is controlling what's happening during the battle. So what happened? Now it's been 6 days, the right people who are fighting from the right wing or the right flank are knowing their enemies from the right side, and the left being known by their enemies from the enemy side. So what happened that he changed the position. He brought the right left and left right. He brought the front behind and the behind the front, as if it is a new army, as if there was reinforcement came to the Muslim army, because the people of the from the disbeliever army used to fight every day with the same people they saw every day. They changed it now. When they changed it, they saw that they had a reinforcement, which actually was a brilliant plan that caused terror in the hearts of the Byzantines by deluding them that fresh reinforcements arrived. And gradually retreating, he started to retreat with the Muslim army in a fully organized, well-planned withdrawal. When the Byzantines believed that they being trapped in the desert, they thought that there is an ambush, that they will be trapped by the Muslim army, that they are retreating to make them come to them, and then they will surround them by the reinforcement. And this is what happened in their way of thinking, the Byzantine army. So when they saw the Muslim withdrawing, the Muslim army is withdrawing, they thought it is an ambush, and they didn't go forward. They start to stop any attack. They stopped attacking the Muslims, and by this plan, Khalid successfully returned back with the rest of the army, Muslim army, safely to the Medina. And actually, astonishing that the total number of martyrs of Muslim was only 12. 12 only who killed in this battle, but for the disbeliever, a lot, and big numbers of them were killed. And by Khalid alone, the 9 swords broken in his hands. 9 swords broken, which means he was fighting with the sword, and then the sword broken, so he took another one and another one till he used 9 swords in this battle. So actually, Mu'tah was miracle, proving to the enemy that Muslims are exceptional. That 3,000 men fighting 200,000 army fully equipped for more than 6 days and deluded them, stopping their progression. The battle also showed that Muslims backed by Allah, of course, backed by Allah and His Messenger. If you're going to calculate it biologically, it will never happen that 3,000 can just stop and resist in front of 200,000. If you are telling anyone that 3,000 men is fighting 200,000, they said, okay, when they were defeated, after the first day, or 6 hours or 4 hours, when they were defeated. There is no way that they will be defeated. But subhanallah, this is the support of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happened in Mu'tah, like in other battles, of course, but in Mu'tah it was very brilliant. It was very clear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala packed those who were brave and were fight until they lost their lives, the three leaders, and then followed by the genius Khalid ibn al-Walid radiallahu anhu. Mu'tah battle considered to be the first confrontation between Muslim and Byzantine Empire, which was an introduction to few years coming ended by Islamic conquest to the Romanian and the Byzantine Empire. The battle made the neighboring enemy. Remember the Arab Bedouins that always we are thinking about them from time to time. They want to charge on the Medina. They want to attack the Medina. So what happens, and the news were flying to them that started those Arab Bedouins started to realize that the strength of the Muslims by facing the great Romanian army at that time. So they became more humble and ready to conciliate. Now we'll come to the events that happened before conquest of Mecca or opening of Mecca. We're still in the 8th Hijri year, as we mentioned. Now we'll just want to know why conquest of Mecca happened, or Fath Mecca, why it was happened. Remember what we mentioned in Al-Hudaybiyah Treaty. Hudaybiyah Treaty was in the 6th Hijra year. According to the terms of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, the Arab tribes were given the option to join either of their parties, Quraysh or the Muslims. The Muslim or Quraysh, with which they desired to enter into a treaty alliance. Should any of these tribes suffer aggression, then the party to which it was allied would have the right to retaliate. Okay, so now if we're going to say that there is Quraysh and Muslim, and remember that the tribe allied to Quraysh was Bakr, and the tribe allied to Muslims was Khuza'a. The struggle and the conflict happened between Khuza'a and Bakr. But who started Bakr? Bakr is the ally of Quraysh. Started to attack Khuza'a, and not only attacking, they killed them in the Mecca, in the Haram, around the Kaaba. And at that time, Quraysh didn't interfere. Quraysh didn't protect those people who are killed. And those people who are killed were ally for the Prophet ﷺ, the tribe of Khuza'a. And this is what happened, that they came to the Prophet and sought justice from their Muslim allies. The Prophet ﷺ, as the leader, realized that what happened, not only violating the treaty, but also slaying men allied to him in the sanctified area or in the Haram. So he considered that the truce to have been nullified. At that time, the Prophet ﷺ considered that there is no presence for such treaty or such truth. And he had the decision for going to Mecca and opening Mecca. 3 days after the covenant being preached, the Prophet ﷺ prepared for war, an army consisting of 10,000 men. 10,000 Muslim men were present in this Mecca conquest. You remember that before, the people who went for the Prophet with the Prophet ﷺ 2 years back, in the 6th Hijri year, was around 1,500. They went with him for doing Umrah after the vision and the dream seen by the Prophet ﷺ. And we mentioned after that, Hudaybiyah Treaty was the event happened, and the next year, on 7th Hijra year, they returned back by the Umrah al-Qada, or compensatory Umrah they did. Remember that these 2 years, from the advantages of the treaty in these 2 years, that the Prophet ﷺ started to send his messages to the different kings around him outside the Arab Peninsula. We mentioned he sent for the Byzantine Empire, to the Persian Empire, to Egypt, and to the places and cities around the Arab Peninsula, declaring about Islam, spreading the word of Allah. And as a result, there are a lot of people entered Islam. A lot of people entered Islam as a result of this declaration. And that can explain to us how now the number of Muslims raised from 1,500 to 10,000. 10,000 during the 8th year of Hijrah. The army, they went near Mecca, and during night, the Prophet ﷺ ordered every soldier in the army to light a fire just for enlightening. So there was 10,000 fire is present with every one and every soldier, made, you know that Mecca surrounded by mountains, all over surrounded by mountains. When they are present on the top of these hills, as make it all enlightened, as if Mecca or the Haram will be all enlightened by this fire. And it was very impressive and made the people in Mecca feel with fear and terror from the number of the Muslims they are coming. And of course, we know the leader of Mecca at that time was Abu Sufyan. So when the Prophet arrived near Mecca, Abu Sufyan went to the Muslim camp, and realizing that the Muslims were now in full control, Abu Sufyan, after initial struggle, managed to testify his belief to him, alayhi salatu wassalam, and he embraced the Islam, Abu Sufyan. And the Prophet, according to the advice of his uncle Al-Abbas, he mentioned to him, just give him to satisfy the bragging of Abu Sufyan. He wants usually to be proud of something or doing something to be proud of as his habit. So the Prophet mentioned to him, he who takes refuge in Abu Sufyan's house is safe, and whosoever confines himself to his house will be safe. The inmates therefore shall be in safety, and those who will enter the sacred mosque or Al-Kaaba will be safe. So the Prophet announced through Abu Sufyan, he sent, when Abu Sufyan went back to Mecca, he announced to the people that the Muslim army will not fight anyone who is not fighting them, kept in his house or kept in my house, or be present in around the Kaaba peacefully, without declaring any attacking towards the Muslim army, so nothing will happen to them. So Abu Sufyan rushed in order to warn the Qurayshites about any aggressive behavior against the approaching Muslim army. When the Prophet and his army arrived, he calmly said, "O you people of Quraysh, what do you think of the treatment that I am about to accord to you?" Now the Prophet is asking them, what do you think I will do with you? You can imagine now how the Prophet feeling after 8 years in Medina and 13 years back in Mecca, how those people were very aggressive and rude with him and with the companion, how a lot of psychological and physical hurtness happened to the Prophet and his companion, the degree of torment for the companion and to him, alayhi salatu wassalam, how he was being sieged in Sha'b, Abu Talib, for 3 years, boycott for him and for his tribe. the degree they didn't find anything to eat. Lady Khadija radiallahu anha, she was very sick after the 3 years. She was sick and then she passed away. How all the time, every day, they were annoying to him. They prevented him from praying in the Kaaba, around the Kaaba. They were chasing him everywhere. They start by mocking, and then lastly they had the conspiracy to kill him, alayhi salatu wassalam. And after he left Mecca, they didn't leave him. They started to have the threatening messages to him and to the Muslim. The Muslim who migrated after that from Mecca to Al-Madinah, leaving their houses, leaving their wealth, leaving everything behind them for just their religion. Remember one like Mus'ab ibn Umair. He left everything. He was very rich. He left everything and went with only his very modest clothes and left everything. They refused to even let him go with his clothes. And after that, they didn't leave the Muslim in Al-Madinah. They came in Badr. They came in Uhud. They gathered themselves again 3 years back, just 3 years back. They gathered all the tribes with the Jews in Al-Ahzab, Al-Khandaq, when they came, and they have, subhanallah, at that day, the shaitan and their souls, their sinning souls, they imagined that they could get rid of Islam and deroot all these Muslims. Can you imagine all these memories to come in his mind, alayhi salatu wasalam, when he's telling them this sentence, what you think I would do with you? If we can just apply this to us, and this happened now at the present time, I think it's either fair. It's something fair. When come back, they will kill. He will kill everyone and punish everyone who punished him and punished the companion, and this will be fair. This is absolutely fair. So they replied to him, "O noble brother and son of noble brother." Now he is noble. Remember back when you told him he is mad, he is liar, he's magician, he's soothsayer. Now he is noble. Now, O noble brother and son of noble brother, we expect nothing but goodness from you. Then the noble prophet, what he mentioned to them? He mentioned, I speak to you in the same words as Yusuf alayhi salam, Prophet Joseph, spoke unto his brothers. Remember in Surah Yusuf, when the brothers of Prophet Joseph or Yusuf come back to him and came back and they know that he's Yusuf. They said, we were wrong and we wrongdoer you. We were wrongdoers and we transgressed you. He mentioned to them, no reproach on you this day. لا تثريب عليكم اليوم. There is no blame. Remember, imagine the Prophet is telling them, no blame. I will not blame you. He's not telling them, okay, I will not kill you. I will not punish you. But remember when you said so and so and so? Remember when you said so and so and so? Now you are saying to me, I am noble? Remember when you said I am liar? Remember when you said I'm magician, I'm soothsayer? All this you forgot? No. He just, the noble, our noble prophet. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him, Ya Rabb, and gather us with him in paradise, inshallah, and grant us his intercession, Ya Rabb. He told no blame. He will not even blame them. He will not say anything. No reproach on you this day. Go your way, for you are freed ones. عليه الصلاة والسلام. عليه الصلاة والسلام. صلوات ربي وسلامه عليه. So, complete forgiveness, absolute forgiveness, absolute nobility. Something that we can't describe, and except that we love the Prophet. We love him so much. We love him of everything, but for that we love him more and more for his nobility, and for his superiority, and for all the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him, that he is إِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. You are in the greatest manner. The greatest manner is the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. صلى الله عليه وسلم. صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. سبحانك الله وبحمدك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.